Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I am your host, Tom Olson, and I have got a friend of mine, Richard Bresler, which I met several years ago at a mastermind, and he's got a whole community behind him. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. Welcome, Rick. I'm glad to have you on the podcast. We've had to kind of go back and forth a couple times to make this happen, but I'm glad we finally made it happen. So how you doing today in Houston, Texas?
Oh, man. Hey, Tom, we are doing just right. It was great catching up with you at the expo a couple of weeks ago, and we're just living the dream.
Yeah. So Rick he has a group of people, investors together, and they actually do a lot of private money lending. And today we're going to hear some of his story, kind of how he got into it, who Rick is, and all that good stuff that we get to talk about on the Good Success Podcast. I can't wait for that. But before we get started, I just want to let you guys know about a couple things that are coming up. If you are local to Northwest Indiana or Chicagoland, we are doing a local mastermind, and it's going to start in October. And I'm really excited about this. But it's going to be a whole day event once a month, and it's going to be the whole day. And we're going to kind of do a deep dive into leadership training. We're actually going to review the 30 days to good success, one chapter at a time. We're also going to have a book every single month that we're going to be required, all of us, to actually read, and then come back to the next mastermind with some thoughts about that. And then we're even going to have a mastermind session for every single person there. We've already got 5 people signed up. So I'm really excited about this local mastermind. It's very inexpensive, but we're really trying to build a community of local entrepreneurs and trying to make that something that's really cool. My long-term vision of this community Go-Giver Club is to actually have these around the country and be able to help people use whatever talent they've been given, whatever money they've been given, to be able to work to have to give and to be able to give to other people. So I'm really excited about the Community Go-Giver Club that's starting up. You can just go to goodsuccess.com and find us there. There's probably another link that I probably should have for that, but I don't have that with me today. So just go to goodsuccess.com, find us on the website, and then just kind of scroll through there and find that club. Also, we have the mastermind, the actual national mastermind that I think Rick is going to be coming to, right, Rick?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him. This will be for his first time here at our mastermind, and I'm super excited about having him. But the next event is November 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. The actual mastermind is going to be held the 13th, 14th, and 15th, and we're doing a boot camp the day before about know your numbers. You know, so many times entrepreneurs, they learn how to sell, they learn how to create a product, and they might learn how to pay their bills, but they don't really know their numbers. And that was something that kind of kept coming up in our mastermind. And we thought to ourselves, hey, why don't we do a whole day and do a deep dive on how to create your right chart of accounts, how to track your numbers, what are the key KPIs, and what are other things that entrepreneurs may not think about because they may not have a business degree, or they may not have an accounting degree, or they may not know all these things. So, and then also how to set up a budget and how to properly track everything. And as a CFO or a CEO or owner, what numbers do you need to know on a weekly or monthly or quarterly basis to be able to help make decisions? And then when you get these numbers, what in the world do I do with these numbers? So that's something we're going to go all over on Tuesday. I'm really excited about that. Wednesday, I can't be more excited about Wednesday. We are actually going to have our award for community. We always pass out an award every single mastermind with either charity, growth, good community, or stewardship. And this is the community award that we're going to give away. And I can't wait for that. But we're also going to do Make Your Day Wednesday. And we're going to split up as 4 different groups from the mastermind. And we're going to go out into the local community. Each group is going to have $1,000, and they're going to go make somebody's day or make many people's day. And I've been a part of several of these different meetings like this over the years. And we've done this. And it's really funny because it's not necessarily the other people that you always change your life, although sometimes I've seen lives change from that. It's actually your life that actually ends up changing. So if you want to be a part of an amazing community that wants to encourage and challenge and support you in your purpose, to help you find your purpose, reach that potential in your purpose, and to keep going when you want to give up, please consider the Good Success Mastermind. You can go to goodsuccess.com, fill out the application, and we can see you at the next November Mastermind. Can't wait to have you there. Also, I do want to let everybody know, it's been a while since we've been on here, but I actually completed this 30 Days to Good Success journey. It's actually a 160-page book, and I actually did this for really like for mentors. So if you're a mentor out there and you need kind of a guide to help you get to know a little bit more about your students and get to know more about the people that you're serving, I believe that these 30 questions are a deep dive into their life. And this kind of explains why these questions are very important. Questions like, what's your purpose? When are you going to be financially free? What's holding you back? What is your budget? What does your budget say you need to live on? So there's some money questions, there's some time questions, but then there's also questions like, who do you need to forgive? And what have you done wrong in your life that you need to forgive yourself for in order to be able to move on? So I highly recommend this book. You can go to the website and find it there. I know that we are running specials right now because we just sent it out, but it is on Amazon as well. You can look up the 30 Days to Good Success Journey. And I believe it can help you personally, but I also believe that if you're a mentor, you can use this to kind of help your students as well. So to me, this is not a bit of business plan. This is about a life plan. And I think it's kind of a little bit more important than a business plan. There are some business planning aspects to the book, and there are some things in here that I really think will help your business. But I think more importantly, it'll help you in your life's journey. And I think your business should only be part of that life's journey, not your whole entire life's journey. So just keep that in mind. Just do want to let you guys know about that, and can't wait to see you guys, and can't wait to be able to help in any way possible. So we are here with Rick Bresler. What is going on, Rick? I'm so excited to have you today. How's it going in Houston, Texas?
All right. Like I said, it's amazing. We're doing good. Business is just expanding and expanding. And that in itself is pretty amazing. But real quick, I just thought of this. We are basically like the Airbnb for money, right? We rent money on a short-term basis, right? So we're private money lenders. We loan to fix and flippers, and we loan to the guys who like to fix, buy and hold, and refi. We really like the guys who like to buy and hold. Those are the guys creating wealth and trying to work themselves out of a job, not the ones trying to stay in a job.
And those are the guys that have the money too. So it's good to have them as borrowers.
Absolutely.
I like to loan to those people as well. So tell me a little bit about Rick. So how did you get into this business? Where do you come from? Is this what you've always done, or is this something you kind of just fell into?
Yeah. So I'm a chemical engineer from the University of Kansas. Years in the oil and gas business, mostly designing our oil and gas production platforms and onshore upstream production facilities in the world. But back in '85, I started flipping houses as a side. I was just one of these guys who just can't sit still. I can't TV. I got to be doing something. And I started flipping 85. First deal was 18 grand. I bought for 18 grand at the courthouse, foreclosure, and turned around and sold it for $32,000. And I thought I was it.
You were killing it.
I was going to quit my oil and gas job right there and go full-time in real estate. This was just too easy. Along the way, though, I've done I did around 70 some odd flips over the years. But it was after the 2008, 2009 crash, I was blessed to be sitting on a bunch of money, started rebuying real estate like crazy. And here in Houston, I was fortunate to time the market perfectly, because in about a year and a half, 2 years later, the real estate had appreciated like crazy. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting on a bunch of money again. And I started loaning money out, not even knowing there was a term called private money or hard money lenders out there. I was just loaning money out. When I got to about dollars of loans, there was actually a little cottage industry called private money and stuff. And then, so stumbling into it, that grew, and finally I retired from the oil and gas business early this year after a 40-year career. And just focusing on this, we've got 6 employees, and we're just having a lot of fun doing this. So we've been looking at it for about, I guess since about 2013, right? So we're about 6 years into the lending business.
Wow. So you actually started a lending business. So it's not just your money that you're loaning out. You actually started an actual lending business, right? Called Katy Capital. Is that right?
Exactly. So how it started was I did the first couple of loans, and I was talking to a buddy, and he's got some money. So I said, okay, well, let's do this next deal. We did another deal, and then let's do some more. And I didn't realize, he had almost 7 figures. He was sandbagging me when he only told me he had $100,000. So all of a sudden, with his money and my money, we had a decent chunk of money. Then we just started to our oil and gas buddies, and it just kept multiplying and multiplying. And now we're well into the 8 figures of money that we have on the street. So we got 2 hands, right? On one hand, we got the borrowers that we loan money to. The hand, we've got all of our oil and gas buddies who they're busy, right? They got kids in soccer practice, football practice, baseball, basketball. They have time, but they got a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. And where else are you going to get these way above average returns, 10 times what you can make in a bank, just being totally passive? So we've got our passive investors, our lenders that love it, and we have our borrowers that reap the benefits. So it's a good win-win-win for everybody.
I think you brought up a point though that I just want to highlight there, and I'm not sure you meant to or not, but you said that first lender that you went to, that you kind of started working together with, was sandbagging you. So that pretty much means like he had a lot more money than he was initially willing to expose and let you know that. And people do that for a reason, right? I mean, there's a really good reason for why somebody would do that, because people have to understand, if you're rich, you have the exact same problem a poor person has. It's just in reverse. It's just we all as people have the exact same problem. That's why like a book like The 30 Days to Good Success is great for somebody that's a billionaire. And I think it's also great for somebody that is like just trying to figure out how to survive and get out of a country like Cuba or whatever. It's like anywhere in between, we still have the same fears, and we have still the same issues with pride that we have to deal with. And but there's a good lesson to be learned there as well. When you're raising private capital, most of the time that's also what's kind of going on as well. So don't think that person that is just going to only loan you that 50 grand for that first deal, or the $100,000 for that first deal, that's all the money that they have. A lot of times there's a lot more money where that came from. And that kind of goes 2 ways. You want to make them happy, right? Because like as soon as you pay somebody back, Rick, so what happened after that first deal? Let me just kind of go over that first deal with you guys. He lent you $100,000, or you guys did a deal together with $100,000 of his money. And what let me just walk us through that first deal, if you can remember it.
Well, usually the first monthly interest payment at cocaine. Once you get he got $1,000 interest check the first month, and he had all this money sitting that he might have made $200 in interest, because the interest rates are so low. He got $1,000 interest check and goes, whoa, all right, so let's do some more of these. And then we just, through meetups, this, that, and the other, we just started talking. I got into the groove, and quickly we got 7 figures loaned out, and all of a sudden he's making $4,000 or $5,000 a month in interest on that money. And he tried other things, gas stations, some other things on the side. He was like me. He had these little side hustles, but nothing was paying like this, especially considering there was no effort. So he was hooked, and he's been lending with us all these years.
Yeah, I've got a presentation that we've done several times called the best seat at the real estate table. And almost every time it's the lender that actually has the least amount of effort and actually gets paid the most money per hour. They may not make the most money in the whole deal, but they almost always make the most money per hour. So it's the most scale. It's the business inside that business that's probably the most scalable and the easiest to be able to do more and more of. So that I just think that's a pretty cool lesson to be able to talk to our audience about. So question. So you guys are into private money right now. So what kind of loans do you guys do? And then how do people find you? Like, how do you find the deals, and how do the deals find you?
So we hardly do any marketing. So I guess when you've got money, word travels fast. We just go to different meetups, hand out business cards. Here in Houston, you can go to a real estate meeting every night and be fed very well. There's something going on in Houston almost every night. So we hit about 10% of them, maybe 5%, but that's enough to you get. It's a relationship business, right? You develop these relationships with people, both sides, on the lender side and the borrower side. And once you've got that relationship, built. It just keeps coming back from the referrals and such. So we've been blessed naturally on both sides. I mean, because you get more borrowers, you better have more money or access to money, right? And so that was actually, grew, magically over 6 years. So, but that's how we find the borrowers, was just word of mouth at real estate meetings and referrals. We're just now starting to get on. Just got someone working my Facebook page. We're going to start kind of doing more advertising and stuff, but that's how we grew to 10x from where we started from.
So let me ask you this. So where are the actual deals? Are you only loaning in like the Houston area, or is it kind of all geographical where you guys loan to, or
it's in the Houston and surrounding areas? Houston, Galveston, Beaumont, that area.
Gotcha. And then, so when somebody gets private money, like what are the kind of terms that you're seeing in today's market, and has that changed at all in the last 6 years?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Things about the good, bad, and the ugly part later, but we started off in 2013, and there were very few big boys around at the time. The industry's changed a bunch, as a lot of people know. In other places, there's countries with negative interest rates. There's a lot of money coming to the U.S. in search of yield. The hedge funds and all kinds of others now want a piece of this pie, and so there's been private money, hard money lenders popping up like crazy, people brokering like crazy. So it's gotten extremely competitive over the last 6 years. Started 12% and up was the norm. Hardly anybody had anything below 12% interest. Now you're seeing a lot of lower interest rates, but unfortunately there's a lot of, since this isn't a regulated business, there's a lot of hidden fees or undisclosed fees. And at the end of the day, when you add up the points, the fees, we all end up about the same amount of money out of pocket over 6 months. It's kind of funny. It's just different ways of getting there. But that's the way some of these national guys can kind of crack in by putting these teaser rates out there. But the fees we're seeing, we do a lot of rescue.
You got it.
We have a lot of borrowers come to us that are in trouble with their hard money lender and need some gap funds or whatever to keep from getting foreclosed on. And then when we look at the extension fee, it's like, man, poor guys, you're getting killed. Why did you take this loan? Well, I didn't know about this. Well, you probably just wasn't savvy enough to ask the right questions, or it was probably he just didn't realize what it meant, but they realize what it means now. And so I kind of digress, but that's kind of all things that changed over 6 years. A lot more people, some borderline predatory, and definitely it's definitely more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember my first hard money loan that I borrowed. I was the borrower, and we're talking like 2008, I think it was 2009, like right at the crash. I paid 5 points at 18% interest. So that's what 10 years will kind of do, to a market. And I think you brought up some awesome points there. And not a lot of people talk about that, but it's so true. I was actually at a President Circle mastermind type thing last weekend, and they were trying to tell somebody in the front of the room that you should never pay more than 1 point and 8% interest. And I turned around and looked at them like, okay, well, is this like regular kind of bank financing that's really kind of passed off as private money, but it's really not private hard money? It really is kind of like completely, totally regulated, from Genesis, or for some of these big guys out there that have billions and billions of dollars to deploy. I'm like, because they're 8-1, I have actually shown somebody how a private lender that doesn't charge all these extra bogus fees at 2 and 12 was actually cheaper than that 1 and 8% when you actually go into like, now, if you can actually get in there and actually turn the money in like 3 months, okay, maybe the 1 and 8 might work, but as well as I do, that's not normal. People don't do 3-month deals. It's something that like gurus want to train and teach on, like, this is what you should do. And it's people that want to pump their chest and act like that's reality, is not. But I mean, the typical deal is really like, I mean, so what, so I have no idea what the answer is going to be from your perspective. So what do you normally see from like the time a borrower borrows the money to the time they actually pay you back? What is the average? Do you guys actually track that data?
Yeah, we in the sweet spot we like this, $200,000 and less.
Yep.
These guys can get in and get these houses rehabbed in 2 months, sometimes 3. The ones that know what they're doing, right?
Yep.
Get it on the market, sell it in 60 to 90 days. So 6 months is really where most of these guys are at, a little bit under. The ones that 6 months on those kind of homes either need to grow up pretty quick and get their business plan, get their contractors right, or get out of the business. We do a little over 100 loans a year right now, and on the bigger ones, of course, we're shying away from the bigger ones. The bigger ones have a higher percent of problems.
Yep.
And they last longer. More things go wrong, and so unless it's a really experienced borrower, we got confidence in, we'll just refer the big ones off to somebody else. We want to stay in that plus or minus $200,000 range down here, which is starter homes and those kind of things. And those guys, like I say, are 4 to 6 months. But we're one of the few lenders that, hey, if you want to do this thing in 2 months or 3 months, we'll waive the 3-month minimum anytime you ask, because we prefer to go turn that money like most lenders do, right? It's the velocity of money with us. Some guys want to have these minimums in there. It's like, why? If you know how to calculate the return on your investment, and if I could turn these things, and that's going to be working, we're going to try to turn our money much more often than we have been in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was just trying to get the average. So for me, like I see 5 to 7 months as like being a very calculated average that you're going to see over and over and over and over and over again. And those are even experienced guys. I know what my actual average is when I'm paying back a lender on my deals. And that's what it typically is. Do some go over? Yes. Do some get done a lot quicker? Yes. But like, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, like if you think you're going to get in and out in 3 months every single time, it's not going to happen. And a lot of times these 3 or 6 months deals with these really high fees to be able to extend or whatever, and not to mention draw fees and all these other massive fees that you don't really are kind of hidden into all those costs, and the upfront fees and all these other things really can kind of chew you up on that. So if you're borrowing from private lenders, make sure you know all those things. And sometimes taking that private money might look a little bit more money, might have like a point or two more, might have a percentage or two higher. But I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, like it's better money to have, and it's a relationship based business, right? So some of the guys that you borrow money from you, like they've probably been doing business with you for years and years.
Yeah, they've experienced all the pains you mentioned, right? We're simple. We charge 2 points, whatever interest rate, depending on the deal, and we have a doc fee. That's it. We don't have processing fees, administration fees.
You got it.
We don't even charge our borrowers for the appraisal. We do an appraisal, but we don't charge our borrowers for the appraisal. 9 out of 10 times, if they can send us pictures of the work, we don't have to go out there. We can go give them a draw. If we do have to go out there, we only charge them $75 on a draw fee. Those guys out there are charging $300 between the draw fee and the wire fee. And if you have 3 or 4 draws, Lord, that's another $1,000 out of your pocket.
Exactly. You got it. So, it comes right off the bottom line.
Yeah, so everyone's got their pros and cons. We have a little overhead. We can operate like that. Some guys have more overhead.
Mm-hmm.
It's a profit center for them, but that's what's really kept our borrower base, the main guys, as long as, because when we look at what we do, add up all the fees, all the points, we come out cheaper, especially on these $200,000 loans. The only time that a lower interest rate really works if you're doing a $400,000 or $500,000 loan, and you are going to be out there 9, 12 months, then if you can get a lower interest rate, then that lower interest rate payment over 9, 12 months crosses over probably month 8 or 9. But if you're doing the smaller quickies, like you 2 and 12, we usually beat almost anything out there.
Yeah, you got it. Interesting. So I'm sure, as being a lender, like you've kind of had some really good deals. You've probably had some really bad deals, maybe. And maybe they're getting more and more. At least that's kind of what I'm seeing. They're a little bit more and more prevalent now than they were a couple of years ago. It seemed like, 5 years ago, an investor could like just throw a dart and buy a house and they'd make money. But it seems like it's getting a little tighter nowadays to be able to find deals. And a lot of guys are pushing their numbers and kind of not quite, or there's a lot of beginners getting in the market. So you've probably had some bad deals, and then you've probably had some ugly deals, some ones that have just kind of got downright ugly. Do you mind sharing a couple of those, maybe one good or bad or ugly deal with us, just to kind of let us know, hey, like, what do the good times look like, but hey, what do the risks look like as well, and what do you got to protect yourself from, and maybe what you learned from that experience?
Yeah, the bad deals usually involve people who had too many deals. We had one investor in town who was rocking and rolling, and maybe had 30 deals or more going on at one time, and he just imploded. It was a kind of a perfect storm. Harvey hit. Contractors all bailed on the private guys and went with these national guys coming in and doing all this Harvey, flood repair work. They were paying these guys probably $10, $15 an hour more than they were getting. Couldn't get these deals done. Ended up, giving most of his properties back. We had another one. Didn't realize they were buying junkies. They just had to buy, and they got 10 deals. Couldn't perform and lost all 10 of them. We had to take a couple of them back, wholesaled a couple, rehabbed one. They rehabbed 2 of them, but there was a big blessing in that one we had to rehab. This was in Galveston. So we financed on the DIY channel. There was a new show last year called The Big Texas Fix. If that foreclosure and stuff hadn't happened down there, we never would have met Michael and Ashley on The Big Texas Fix. So we basically financed, we were the one that financed all the houses for them on the show. And now, that was the highest rated show last year on the DIY channel. They just started filming season 2. And we're doing another, so we're loaning them all the money they need to do those 8 houses for season 2. So that's one of those things where, Lord or God, whatever you want to call it, the spirit in the sky works in mysterious ways, right? And you turn that lemon into super lemonade, right? And so that was a blessing on that one. We lost a little money because we were in a little deep with that investor, but in the end of the day, we came out way ahead because of that bad experience. But we've also had investors that, this one poor investor must have gotten crossed with a contractor because there was a house to rehab. Now we went from a house to rehab down just to the foundation. I think the contractor went out there and literally knocked these 2 houses down. She won't say what happened, but that's really the other. You went backwards, and here we are months into the deal, and she should have been out of it. And trying to work with her, but I think she is about ready to give up, and we're just going to have our guys. And that's the thing. We've got folks, right? So I've got guys that can go in there, take that project on, knock that out in 3 months, and be done with it. So we can save deals, which is the advantage of using someone like us who's actually done rehabs for years and years ourselves. Now we're doing the lending. We know where they've been. We can work with them. We can think out of the box. And when they find us out, okay, let my guys come in there. We can do it. We can get this thing knocked out for you and save you from foreclosure, save you from bankruptcy, save all that. And then dust yourself off and we get back on the next one.
Interesting. I've never actually heard a lender that could actually go in there and actually didn't have a problem with that. Most of the lenders I hear that if they have to take a property back, like, it is never a good thing for them because then they're, going through a long process. I know in Texas, it's probably not a very long process to foreclose, right? Is that true?
Oh, that's why we love Texas. Yeah. It takes you 21 days to do a notice of default and then 21 more days is notice of foreclosure. And so 42 to 60 days, you got the property back. Which is why the note business is kind of bad here because banks would go ahead and take care of business where in the Northeast, other places where it could take 12, 18 months to get a foreclosure done, we can get it done here in 2 months. So it makes lending much more favorable.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's pretty interesting. So you did actually tell me a lot about the ugly deals and a lot about the bad deals. So what about some good deals that you've seen happen, or what about some good you talked about the good relationship maybe with the DIY people, what is it getting, flipping Texas or flip
The big Texas fix.
the big Texas fix.
You can go to YouTube TV and look at the reruns. Or yeah, I think they cost $1.50 or $1.25. These guys basically they're masters at restoring the turn of the century homes that were basically getting ready to be condemned by the city, and now they give these homes another 100 years of life. Ashley and Michael are just phenomenal. So watch the show. I have a cameo appearance this year on the show. But what's amazing is they started filming last week, and they'll be done filming by Christmas for all 8 houses. Can you imagine? This is like, so 8 complete total rehabs in 4 weeks. Now, they're not total rehabs, right? They're TV-ready rehabs. But still, that's a lot of work to be done at one time.
Yeah, I've heard lots of stories about lots of people. I've even been talked, to some people about doing that. And I just don't know that I'd want to put myself through that or not. But anyways, it seems like a lot of work, but it sounds like a pretty cool venture for you to be able to get into. So what about, it seems like, from what you've been telling me, you almost have had more bad deals than good deals, but that can't be the case if you're still, getting into this. So, so what is let's get into some of those good deals that you've done and you're like, oh, this is awesome.
And so, well, a lot of the good stuff is, what's good for us is when the borrower is successful, we're successful, right? And some of the things that we do, some of the good things that we do is, a lot of it's education, right? We'll get a lot of guys, new investors, pumped up from the local guru or the national guru that came to town, picked your pocket and got these guys all excited. But they still have no clue about the real world. And so we educate a lot of our new investors. We actually sit down with them, meet them at a local Starbucks or whatever. We've got a deal sheet we give them. They fill out the numbers, and it's a good fix and flip or rental evaluator. Most of these guys have no idea how to evaluate a rental deal. They got no idea how much money they're going to leave in that deal. They got $10,000 and they got 3 rentals they want to do. And then I said, well, here's how that rental is going to work out. You're going to need about $40,000 left in these 3 deals, and you got 10. So how are you going to do that? They got no clue, right? They just know some basic things, and they're fired up. And we have to kind of, think out of the box on how to do, okay, maybe you need to flip 2 and keep 1. Or maybe you can keep 2 and flip 1. You're going to flip 1 first, get some cash. But then you're going to be out of gunpowder for the next fight. So we have to kind of coach them on that. And then also give them ideas. But these are things that they didn't think about that they could do. Here, you got this deal low enough cost. We can provide 100% of the purchase price. We can do 100% of the rehab. And especially this time of year, they prorate taxes, right? So you've got like 10 months of taxes prorated. Those prorated taxes will offset a lot of your closing costs. So you can get into a deal, nothing down, and we're still in a safe, 65, maybe 70% loan to value. And if you get the right contractor who can do work and they get paid as work's completed, like you can do a deal with hardly any money down. And we can show them how that works and how to set that up and talk to the contractor. So so that's part of the education. The rest, or the master's part of his education that he didn't get with some of these gurus. So in other words, we offer that second set of eyes. Is your deal really a deal? Right. A lot of guys will come in, right, and think it's a great deal. I said, here's the deal sheet. Put the numbers in here. I know it's not a good deal. I mean, just the rough numbers. This is 85%, of ARV, right? So there's no way this is a good deal. He thinks he bought this house for $150. It's worth $175. He thinks he's going to make $25,000. Nope. And I say, well, you're going to lose money, but you don't. Here, fill out this deal sheet, and all the number, everything's baked in the formulas. And let's talk about what your results are. And we have to go through the time and educate them, because they hate being told no. And they want that deal so bad they're willing to lose money, and we have to tell them, stop. You do not want to lose money. So those are but that's the thing that build those relationships. When they know that we've got their back, we're not going to let them fail, because they fail, we fail.
Right.
And so that's why I call it, a relationship that a lot of lenders kind of go through it, but I don't think they go through it the way we do it, and with the relationship that we build as we do it. So that's what's cool. That's really what's good about this business to me. And with our passive lenders as well, we sit down with them, show them how this works, why it's worked, why it's the safe. In my book, this is about as safe as an investment as you can make, bar any interest rate. I mean, maybe T-bills may be a little bit safer, but other than T-bills that pay nothing, where are you going to get the kind of returns you're going to get? And this is why it's safe. And we do the same thing the banks do. We have the same documentation, same insurances, appraisal, survey. We're doing everything a bank would do to drive our risk to as close to zero as you can get it. There's no risk-free investments.
Right.
But you can mitigate to very close to zero. And by doing those things, that's the relationships we build. And we build that trust, and then with us all the way. So that's really what the good is.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny. I can tell that you're a spoiled lender, because like when I ask you what the good is, you don't like say, well, every single deal that pays us back on time is a great deal, right? Because that's really what it is. I mean, so you've actually gotten to the point now where you've been doing this for 6 years, and it's almost like you just expect everything to go really perfect, which is a good thing. It's a great business to be in. Don't get me wrong. I love lending. I do a lot of lending myself personally, nowhere near as much as you guys do. I don't have a whole business based on it. But it really, like, that's the good in doing private lending, is the majority of the deals, as long as there is some kind of upfront expectation, as long as there's some upfront due diligence done, like you guys are doing. And honestly, like over the years, I'm sure you guys have decided to put more things in your process, to do more due diligence and make sure that there's more, vetting. Because like you said, the most important piece of that loan is that person's ability to be able to pay you back. And then the second most important thing is probably the asset itself. Somebody comes and tears that asset down, hopefully that guy's insurance has some kind of insurance for that. Who knows? That's kind of weird situation there. But that asset, and then making sure that the paperwork's sound, and making sure that you can foreclose, and making sure that all that stuff is really what you want in the deal, is kind of those three, parts that you got to make sure that you know what you're doing when you're getting to it. So like he said, there is risk in being a private lender. I would never recommend anybody go at that alone. Make sure you get some education, get connected with somebody awesome like Rick that you can do deals together. Because I'm assuming you're not doing this in a fund environment. You're kind of doing this like just together with other people. Is that how you're doing it right now?
Correct. Not putting together the fund, but our lending partners like the way we do. We have two ways of doing it. Either we'll just do a promissory note with them. The ones that have been doing it for a while, they say, hey, I don't want to be in and out of a deal. I just want to be in forever. And other guys like going in as a partner on a deal, so they're on the note and deals. So we do a lot of them that way, or we'll sell some off. We'll do a deal, and like a lot of other guys do, we'll just assign that whole note off to somebody, and then we'll service it. So we got several different ways of getting lenders involved, and no lender has ever lost any money with us, which is good. And I've lost money doing my own flips. That's different, right?
Me too.
But lending goes, we've always been able to save a deal and never lose money, even through Harvey. We had 5 or 6 of our loans flooded, but only one of them didn't pay back the full interest, but they did pay back something. We had to work with them because they probably lost $60,000, $70,000 in the deal, and we cut them a break just to, there's no use to, spank them some more, right? So we gave them a break on the interest just to help them get through the deal. But no one lost money, and they still made more money than they would have made in the bank anyway. So
yeah,
still win-win.
That's awesome. Good news. All right. So we're going to have to wrap this podcast up. I really appreciate having you on, Rick. I maybe have you on to get in sometime just to kind of chat about private money lending and kind of what you're seeing in the market and how it has kind of changed. Because I thought there's really good information here from somebody that just doesn't loan his own money, but kind of has helped other people figure out this private money lending game as well. So it was a real pleasure having you on today. I appreciate having you on, but I've got just 2 more questions for you. We ask every single person that comes on this podcast these 2 questions. And the first one is kind of unique to us because it's all about good success. So when you hear that word good success, it means a lot to us. It's obviously the name of our business, and it's the name of kind of everything we do. I've even got a definition behind it myself, but I'm always interested to hear what other people's definition of that term good success is. So when you hear the term good success, what does that mean to you?
Good question. I wish I had more time to think about one, but what jumps to my mind first off is that we want to do good, right? We're pretty spiritual, right? First thing comes, is know God, make a difference, right? We want to make a difference. We want to make a positive impact. We want to help borrowers. There's enough abundance out there that you can help everybody, and that's allowed us to do some things on the charity side, working with the homeless and some stuff that actually got us, because of that effort, got us into the assisted living business as well. So, and be patient. You don't know what the good Lord has installed in mind. We had no idea we'd be getting to the assisted living business a year ago, but it's amazing how doing more good seems to build on itself and trying to do some of the Lord's work along the way, right? So we're just happy that we can do win-win-win stuff.
I love it. So that's a great definition. Love that. Actually, with Gene, with residential assisted living here, probably as this podcast is going out, they're speaking with Robert Kiyosaki and some really awesome, cool people out there in Arizona. So the residential assisted living is definitely something that I think is a big business and going to just get bigger and bigger as a lot of baby boomers hit that retirement age. So that's really cool. So I appreciate that definition of good success and kind of what you think about when you hear the term good success. So this is the last question we ask all of our people that come on our podcast, and we just say, hey, just leave us with one thing. It might be a book, it might be a quote, it might be, a life lesson that you've learned, or whatever the case is, if you just wanted to leave the audience with just one thing and just one thing only, what would that be?
Man, that's a tough question. I got to go with never stop learning.
That's good.
If you keep learning, you keep reading, you keep sharpening the blade of your craft. I think it keeps your mind sharp, keeps you interesting, and it just helps. I think in so many ways. So just never stop learning. Have a thirst to continue to learn.
Yeah, that's great advice too. And us at Good Success, we're always talking about reading books and different things. And I'm watching this Netflix thing on Bill Gates. And he actually talks about like how many books he reads and how he's always reading like 10 books. And this guy's like the wealthiest man in the whole world practically. And like, he's still learning. Warren Buffett, like the one thing in his life that he doesn't ever not do, he reads like 500 pages a day. Like that's the one thing that he does. And he's, just think about that and let that soak in. If the people that probably do know a lot more than I know are also learning, why in the world wouldn't I also continue to try to learn every day and try to just keep getting better and try to keep learning something that I don't know? Because the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And it just helps you maybe solve even more complex problems that you didn't think were even in existence until you learned more about it. It's like whenever we climb that mountain, we hit that mountaintop, like we didn't realize it, but there's a whole nother mountain behind that mountain that's way bigger. And, so that's great advice. Never stop learning. So thank you again so much, Rich, for being on the podcast. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for your insights on the private lending business and kind of how you've gotten started and kind of where you're going. I just have one more question before we get going. Do you guys have any kind of a meetup group, or do you guys have something like that you guys get together to find these borrowers or to find these lenders, or is there any kind of group that you've put together? You said you did some education. How do you educate those people? How do you guys meet?
Well, that's two parts. So we do sponsor a couple of meetups here in town. I'm just going to plug in for the Latinos in real estate. Terry Ramirez, my loan director, fluent Spanish speaker. So we support the Latinos in real estate meetup down here. And I'm going to put another shout out to Ricardo Rosales. 70% all in. We have a meetup out in Katy that they're our last one last month that we were sponsoring. Now it's moving more into the Galleria area every month. So we sponsor those and some other odd events, but that's pretty much the extent of what we've been doing. We're going to do more of it. The problem is, the more that I do, I get too many borrowers before I get too many lenders. So I hate telling people no, right? But as it's always a balancing act. But that's pretty much what we do. We now that Ricardo and I got rid of the Katy one, we might have to kick up that Katy one again, because that was actually a pretty good meetup, second Monday of every month. So I need to start doing more of that.
And then, so like, how do you get together with your lenders, or how do you find those people?
So we just got done last week with a little lender social. We had about 40 folks come over to one of our lenders' houses. I put on a little presentation, and I'll invite a guest speaker. So it's a good way to spend a Saturday night once a quarter, kind of tell them what we're doing, the investments we're in, and like this last week, we talked a little bit about the assisted living and how those numbers look. And so we do that for the lenders. We're going to start doing that for the borrowers. One of the things that we're really big about is, we don't get paid for it, but is how these borrowers and how our lenders can keep more of this money tax-free.
Oh, yeah.
Our high net worth lenders, we have one probably makes $15,000 a month of interest. That goes right to the Schedule B, the way she has it now, and it just gets taxed at the top rate. We've got ways to set things up so you can save more on taxes. That's what's about. Not really how much you make, right? It's how much you keep. So we're big on tax advantage ways. Like most people don't realize, you got an LLC, you can slam $55,000 a year into your Roth or traditional IRA through your LLC if you know how to do that. So why wouldn't you take advantage of putting that money in and let that money grow tax-free if you knew how to do it? Most people have no clue. So we're big about sharing tax-free information and getting the people together that can help them set that up. So that's part of what we do in our lender social and our borrower social, is how you guys can start setting things up to keep that money in a more tax-free, or at least tax-deferred environment, and not just get creamed just paying short-term gains or just ordinary interest.
Right. Absolutely. Those are great points there. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, maybe it's a borrower in the Houston area, or maybe it's somebody that is looking to be able to invest with you or to invest in the deals that you're investing with, how could somebody get a hold of you? Is there a website? Is there a place on Facebook they can find you, or do you just want to give an email or something that somebody can reach you there?
Yes, let me do so we have Facebook page. It's Katy with a K, Katy, Katy Capital Investments.
So Katy Capital Investments.
.com. So I'm on Facebook. We also have a website, the same thing, katycapitalinvestments.com, or call me. Slowly, my phone number is 218513867.
One more time?
281.
281. Okay.
281-851-3867. We were not very smart when we set this up, and we made it way too long. And we didn't have a nice little catchy phrase that we may have to do. But yeah, so we grow despite all the mistakes we made.
We all make mistakes, right? So, well, thanks again, Rick, for being on today. I really appreciate your time with us and your insights. And from somebody who's had the good, somebody who probably has good to happen every single week to him, and you can tell he's a really thankful, grateful guy, and somebody who wants to be able to work, to have, to give, and pass on to other people and have a win-win situation for everybody. Also has had some bad, and also obviously has had some ugly, especially when you talk about a hurricane that kind of comes in and floods a whole city. I mean, if you just think about that from a lender's perspective, my hair just kind of starts, automatically coming out thinking about that if I was a lender in that situation. So I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for spending some time with us. So that's going to do it for today's episode. I just want to thank everybody for listening. Again, if you're interested in the mastermind, go to goodsuccess.com. If you're interested in the 30 Days to Good Success journey, you can find us at goodsuccess.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, or subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching this on right now, or our Facebook pages, or all of our social media platforms. You can find this podcast on any of the podcast platforms, whether it's Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. And please give us a 5-star review if you like the content and if you want to hear more of it from the Good Success podcast. We thank you so much for being here with us today. Remember to Be a conduit, not a bucket. Work to have to give.